Hello everybody, hope you are all doing well. I'm going to take this off because it smells funny. I am going to do a quick demo for you on how to make these wonderfully delightful antlers. You can make them for Christmas if you like, or you can just make them for winter fun or just general fun. They're super easy to make, as most of my crafts are, or all of them, I like to hope anyway. And you can easily knock a pair together in, I'd say about an hour, depending on how much layering you want to do, but certainly within a day. Okay, so what you will need is a plastic Alice band. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not it's got teeth because this gets covered. Okay, the thin plastic ones are fine. You probably could use a fabric one if you wanted. It would mean that you probably wouldn't have to cover the plastic, but you still need to cover another part. You'll need some pipe cleaners because no craft is complete without pipe cleaners. Now, depending on how big you want your antlers to be, you'll either need 2 pipe cleaners or 4, no more than 4. Okay, what else do we need? We need some paper shredded into long strips. Now, I use brown paper because it's nice and thin and it's already really crumpled and quite soft, and also because it's brown and you want brown antlers. You also want some wallpaper paste. Any old wallpaper paste is fine. If you don't have wallpaper paste, you can use flour, but I just prefer the stickiness of this. And obviously some water to make up your paste. And then you want some papery kind of tape. Now, this one is micropore tape. It's medical stuff. But you can also use masking tape or floristry tape. Basically any kind of tape that is papery, not plasticky. Okay. Now, so what you need to do, you start off with your hairband. I'm going to use just 2 pipe cleaners, but I will show you how to do 4. So if you want to use 4 pipe cleaners, you take 2 of them, twist them together to make 1 pipe cleaner, and you basically do exactly what I'm doing, but with 2 together instead of 1. Okay, so we do it with 1 like this. Okay, so you fold your pipe cleaner in half. Okay, and you decide whereabouts on the hairband you want your antlers to sit. You can have them on the sides, you can have them on the top. Okay, so you loop your pipe cleaner over. Okay, and you take it and wrap it once around the headband. Okay, and that just kind of locks it in place. And then you want to twist nice and tight just to make sure that's not going to slide off. Okay, now we are going to secure this all with tape, so you don't have to worry too much. Now, when you make your antler patterns, you can just kind of make it up as you go along, really. There's no right answer here. Okay, so you twist it up a little bit, so you've got a little bit of the stem here, and then you fold one of them in half, okay, and twist that, and that will make, see here, one of your little sticky out pieces. Okay, and you can bend it to whatever shape you want. Okay, so you can see already that already looks like an antler. And you don't really need to do much else if you don't really want to. But I'm going to come a little bit further up this one here and twist it. Okay. And then once you've got your pipe cleaners in place, you can sort of play around with the shape of them and make them look however you prefer. I'm just going to do this one quickly. So if I show you again. So you loop it around once to anchor, twist it around itself, okay, keep twisting until such a time as you want to split off. Now, you don't even have to split off, you can just leave them a very basic shape if you wish. If that's what you want, that's fine. There's no right way to do this. Whatever shape you like works. Okay. So, and they don't have to be equal or even or the same shape. They can look any which way you want, and they still look fabulous no matter what. Okay. Now, what you need to do then is take your paper tape, and if it's quite wide like mine, you want to cut it in half so it's not quite so thick, and you want to cover everything in the tape. Okay, so if you start at the end of your hairband, and if you do it diagonally rather than flat, then it works much better. Okay, and you want to cover everything, okay, in tape until you end up with something that looks like this. Yes, this is one I prepared earlier. Okay, now you see how these are a totally different shape, but they still look pretty great. Okay, now when you're all taped up, you can still bend them if you wish. Okay, so you're still able to adjust the shape, okay, and make sure it's exactly how you want it, because this is the last point at which you can adjust things. Okay, then you want to make up, once you're all covered in tape, you want to make up some paste. So I've got a little pot here, and you just add a little bit of your paste and just keep adding bits of water. Now the consistency, you don't want it too wet, because if it's too wet it will take forever to dry. Okay, so this is a bit thick at the moment. I will show you the approximate consistency that you need. Okay, so if you look at what this looks like, it's sort of a bit like jelly. You want it a little bit thinner than that. Okay, so just keep adding water. Usually it works best if you add warm water, but that means going all the way downstairs and getting some warm water. So you want it to sort of slowly slide off the spoon. Now that's too thick because it's not going anywhere. So again, you add more water. You don't want it to pour, but you want it to slowly slide off the spoon. So not like that. It does take a while to get the right balance if you're not used to doing this. This one's actually been sat in the pot for a while, so it's kind of thickened up. But there we go. You see how it sort of slowly falls off the spoon? That's the kind of consistency you want, because that's just right. Now, what you want to do is take your strips of paper. Now, this is probably about the right length. What's that? 20 centimetres? 20 or 30 centimetres is a good length, and you want it as thick as your tape was. So, you know, half this width. Okay, now you have to get messy, unfortunately. You can lay it down on paper and do it that way, but where's the fun in that? So you just get some of your paste on your fingers and you just stroke it down, all the way down, so that your piece is sticky. Now, see how it sticks to my thumb? Okay, you don't want it to be slipping off because that's too wet. Okay, and you start at the end, same as before with the tape, and if you go on the diagonal, you wrap it round. Now if you have it much longer than 20 or 30 centimetres, then it gets tangled around everything. So 20 to 30 centimetres is more than long enough. You can have it shorter than that if you prefer. Okay, and as you see, I'm just twisting it, and it's slowly covering. Now, again, you want to cover the whole lot, and you want to make sure you really anchor your antlers. I will show you how I did that. So here's another one I prepared earlier. Okay, so let's take a piece of paper, paste it. Okay, now you don't want excess paste either on your paper, so just when you've wet it, okay, you can just hold it, make sure it doesn't slide off your finger, and that means there's enough stick without it being too wet. Okay, so we're going to carry on here. Okay, so you'll need to hold it down in the first instance with your finger. Okay, so when we get to the joint here, what we're going to do, so where the headband meets the antler, we'll go around the headband and then up and over the other side. Okay, and then down, back up, over, okay, down the other way, back up and over. Now, it doesn't matter if it makes it thicker like this. So now you see this big triangle, and then I'll continue to wrap that all the way around. Okay. So you keep going, and you want to do this on all of your joints because you want them to be nice and stable when you've finished. Okay, so you cover the whole thing. Now, if you want antlers like these have about 5 layers of paper. So you just cover the whole thing, let it dry. I let mine dry on a radiator. It doesn't take particularly long. You'll know when it's dry because if you use brown paper, you'll know when it's dry because the paper will change colour, and it will go back to its original shade. Do you see how it's slightly darker? So it will lighten up, and you just cover the whole thing in as many layers as you like. And I don't have any more demos, so I can't show you what the next bit looks like, but you will have very sticky fingers. I wash my hands in between every layer because otherwise you just get really sticky and it starts to get really flaky and it just ends up a whole mess. But when you're finished, when you've done as many layers as you like, your top layer should be some tissue. Now, again, just tear your tissue into strips and wrap it around your paper, just one layer of tissue. And again, same paste, you don't want it to be too wet. If it starts to get sticky, just add a bit more water, and if it starts to look a bit thin, just add a bit more paste or flour, whichever it is you're using. Okay, and so when it's all done, you cover it all in a layer of tissue and set it aside to dry. Now, you want it to dry overnight when you've done the final layer, and then depending on the colour that you want, so these were painted, if you see, can you see the texture? So this rough texture is from the tissue. That's why I use the tissue, because it gives it this great texture. If you don't want to use tissue, you don't have to. And also, if you don't want to paint them, if you're happy with them being brown like this, you don't have to paint them. It just kind of gives it an even sort of colour and coating. Okay, and also the tissue paper sort of fills in any gaps, like you can see here. See how there's a tiny little gap there? So the tissue covers that for you. Okay, and yeah, there you go. Within a day, you can knock together a couple of pairs and go and be one of Santa's reindeer for the day. Yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, do stick them in the comments below, and I will see you for another craft very soon. Bye bye.